Everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Live Painting Channel. My name is Warren Stokes, your host and presenter. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. I'm blessed to be a grandfather. I've got two wonderful grandchildren and three fantastic children, so this is a great day for me. We are starting a new painting, and I've just started to sketch it out. The inspiration comes from a place I visit often. There's a golf course there, and wonderful walks and hikes in the mountains. It's called Mount Si near North Bend, Washington. So let's get started. I've created a sketch of the scene that I'm going to be doing here. Explain it a little bit. There's not a lot to explain, but a big departure from my normal compositions is that I've gone with a stock canvas here instead of my usual custom canvases. You will see, I think, as we progress, that it still contains a lot of the elements of composition that I normally would employ, those being elements of dynamic symmetry. In this case, it's a pretty simple scene, but I snapped a picture of this while golfing out at the golf course at Mount Si, and I just love the way the mountains caught the light and the clouds floating by, and the trees kind of framed it nicely. So that's what we're going to paint today. Simple palette to start off with. Talk a little bit about the palette. We're going to go with kind of a traditional palette to start off with of phthalo blue, white, Payne's gray. Sound familiar? We're going to put in some Naples yellow as we get into some of the foreground, so maybe some yellow ochre and some cad yellow. And as we get into the trees, I'm going to be mostly using Hooker's green, but I also have a little phthalo green. Phthalo is short for phthalocyanine green, by the way. And phthalo blue, same thing. So here we go. I'm just going to start painting. I can't wait. I'm going to use a pretty big brush. Thanks for the tip on the mic. I'll try to keep that in mind. But let's start by working in the back to front. So the far back in this painting is the sky. Back to my familiar sky, mountain, and scenery, landscape scenery. So what I want to do is kind of gradate the painting in this section here, where it goes from kind of a misty blue up to a kind of more of a deep blue, and it's going to be really fun to paint these clouds. I think I'll start right along the ridge line here in the mountains, and I'm going to go with kind of a grayish blue and see what we come up with here. I'm going to paint pretty quickly today. I enjoy doing that. Basically, you can paint at whatever pace you desire. Sometimes I just like the effect of getting the paint on the canvas quickly. So I'm going to start with this shade of blue. Might deepen it up a little as we go, but let's just start with a nice swatch of paint over here. Okay. A little bit deeper blue maybe in here. It's all what your mind perceives. I'll be adding the clouds as we go. What I want to do is just start getting some basic light and dark and some of the color schemes established. Alright, now we're going to start gradating it like I was saying with a little bit more deeper blue. You can change it as you go, but I kind of like that real deep blue right there. Get up in here and just get myself some of that going on. And I just keep putting in the whites and the blues and a little bit of gray to start giving me the overall light and darkened scheme that I want here. There we go. Nice. Might look like a mess now, but we'll see. This is going to be a fun painting. All right. Just keep that going up into the top, up into the sky. It's interesting when you watch children paint, how they perceive the world. Just starts off with pretty flat. You've got the earth down here and the sky up here, and the sun's a big thing up here. It's always kind of a linear thing, which is kind of cool. It's amazing they learn to perceive the world like they do. But let's just keep going with this effect here. Throw in a little gray here and there because you know you rarely see really pure colors. Although in this case, what struck me was the kind of the pureness of the blue and the sky and the everything is so green and blue. Really got inspired when I saw this scene and snapped the photo. Here we go. You know, it's not all about the detail at first. It's about getting the kind of the effect you want for the background. In this case, I got a nice idea. There we go. Nice. A little bit of top edge there. There we go. I'm just going to leave the swirly effect. See if we can come up with a painterly painting here. Try not to overwork it as I go. One of the dangers, one of the challenges in painting is to just overwork your design. So I'll try to avoid that as I remind myself. Alright, a little bit of misty clouds kind of floating off the mountain there. Well, we are getting some of that blue established pretty darn quick here. I'm going to go in with now this is going to seem a little dark at first, but you'll see. I'm going to just get that deeper blue up in here. Yeah, there we go. Pretty pure. Phthalo blue, white, and a little touch of Payne's gray. That's what we got going on here. Let's see now, as I kind of look at the image that I'm trying to capture here, let me get down here and just add a little bit of pure white almost down in here. That cloud is poking up. Woohoo! All right, and if anybody out in the audience today has any input, I know I've been tweaking with the microphone settings, so tell me if it's working out all right, especially when I'm not facing the camera. I'll speak up a little bit. No problem doing that. But I think the more important thing is the visual, not the audio today. Just have fun. And if you brought your paints, I hope you're painting along with whatever you decided to create today. And if you've just joined us, this is the 22nd episode of the Live Painting Channel. My name is Warren Stokes, your host. We are underway. All right. Again, happy Father's Day to everyone, not just fathers out there, but happy Father's Day to all the fathers I know, and just another good day to celebrate. I often say when you wake up and you're alive, that's the start of a good day. I just thought of that, you know. Okay. See, we're going to have a little bit of blue here and there and behind these trees, so I'm going to make sure I get all of that. Hard to put it in later, might as well put it in now. And Iris is painting along today. Thank you for letting me know through the chat. Chat's a nice feature. Y'all can chat with each other, chat about what's going on, chat about this painting or whatever you're painting. Hey, let us know, Iris, what you're painting today. I sure had a good time about 3 weeks ago when the Live Painting Channel, we broadcast live from Chico, California. That was a blast. We just set it up in the hotel room and had our own little studio audience, and my guest stars that day were 3 people, 3 very dear people, dear to me. And there was Ellie Ludlow and Warren Stokes and Curtis Stokes. Got to check out that video. It was awesome. Broadcast live from Chico about 3 weeks ago. Check it out on YouTube. I post all of these videos on YouTube. I'm still trying to get enough followers so that Twitch will let me post the videos there. You got to get quite a few. I'm getting there. Almost halfway there. It's easy to do. The channel that you just tuned into, just go in there and follow the Live Painting Channel. Can't hurt, and it'll help get more exposure for this fun thing we're doing here. Alright, a little bit of blue in there. Alrighty then. Let's level up here a bit. We're going to start painting the clouds. I like painting clouds. They're just so fun. I'm going to go almost with pure white here in the middle, kind of the main body of the clouds, and then we're going to see if we can get that gray, little puffy gray effect that I like, that everyone loves when they look at clouds. I mean, I was just driving home the other day, and my wife Justine and I both said, "Wow, look at those clouds! They're so cool." So you might see me get on kind of a cloud roll here. Bit of a cloud roll here. Just get even though the canvas is white, I'm gonna put quite a lot of just pure white pigment in here to help blend it all. So I'm just painting white on the white canvas right now, so it doesn't look like I'm doing much. But it'll help me blend in the other tones there pretty soon. Sometimes you can see shapes in the clouds. You can just imagine they're animals or different things. I've seen that. In fact, sometimes I'll put a few little surprises in my painting. You never know, this one could end up with one. Little things that your mind doesn't see or your eyes don't see right off the bat. We'll just have to see what happens with today's painting. It kind of evolves, frankly, as you go. I'm going to go right down here. Some more of that pure white cloud right behind the mountain. A little tiny peak of that right there. How about that? Oh, this is fun. I just love this fast painting. Quite in contrast to the most recent painting that I did, which was a rendition of The Last Supper. Hey, I have it right over here. I'll just show it to the audience. So Marigold is painting along. Excellent. Well, hello, Marigold Star Olson. How are you doing? Your grandpa's on the live painting show again. So this is the painting that I just had finished last episode, and it's my impression of the Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. Had a lot of fun doing it, but it was a challenge. The funny thing about it, and you maybe could look at the pictures later, but some of the figures in here, although they do resemble maybe the apostles and such, and then the figures in the Last Supper, but some of them started to look like famous movie stars and people you might know. See if you can guess who they might be, and maybe that'll be something to hold a little contest on. But I have that for reference in my YouTube channel. You can check it out and see if you can spot any of those figures that might look like some movie star. It'd be fun to get people's idea of that or what they see. Could be all in my mind. I'll give you one hint. I thought I saw Jack Black as an apostle. One hint. That's it. No more hints. See what you can see there. Right. Okay, the white. Looking good. And I'm going to just start putting in a little more whitish over in here because I don't know, the clouds are kind of misting off the mountain, creating a bit of a lighter bluish gray over here. It was a wonderful day when I took this picture. Absolutely gorgeous out there. Just kind of wafting up here a little bit. There we go. You know, I don't know how much detail you can see, so occasionally what I'll do is zoom in. Good guess there, Jason, on the movie stars. So I'm going to zoom in just a bit with my manual zoom, just a real quick way to see the light and dark and the painting coming along here. Get her back in the normal position. All right, so now I'm going to work a little bit on that gray, the fluffy light gray of the clouds there. How about that? Yeah, that's just, I painted right on my little reference thing. It was just amazingly too dark. And sometimes I do that just to, I think I need a different brush. So let me try a softer brush. There, I got it. This brush here is loaded with what I was looking for. Okay, so along the bottom band of this cloud, a little bit on the side is a, I'm going to use the brush rolling technique. Don't know if I really invented it, but I use it. And just a way to kind of put the paint on the canvas a little different way. Nice, I like it. I just kind of take the brush and roll it. You got to load up your pigment pretty heavy to do this. Don't try this at home unless you're supervised. Haha. Okay. Across the bottom there. And there's a little part of that comes in here. Just making the gray edges of the cloud. Like gray edges of the cloud. Still want to leave plenty of that pure white because that was the beauty of this cloud. It was just pure white up in there. All right, super duper cloud. Holy macaroni, man! I'm liking this. And sometimes I'll tell you if I don't, I'll just say, hey, this sucks, man. But right now, I'm liking it. Exactly what I'm trying to do here. Capture the cloud. That's good for that cloud. That's all she wrote. I'm going to stop on that one. Oh yes, doing a new painting. So, picture inspired by my often visits to Mount Si near North Bend, Washington, just outside of Seattle, about 40 minutes, I think. 30 or 40 minutes. Drive, that is, not walk. Now here's the next layer in this direction coming forward is the mountains. Now I've got a different palette for the mountains. Having painted a few mountains, I started to get a feel for the colors and the pigments needed. And Marigold, I can't wait to see your painting that you're painting with me here, with us on the channel. Hopefully we can show that on a future episode. So I'm going to work on a little bit different palette. In this case, I'm going to go with ultramarine blue, Payne's gray. There's a touch of brown in this painting and some light gray, so we'll just get rolling on that. I better add some white though before I get too carried away. Okay. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to get the lights and darks established with the palette here. Start off with some of the darker areas. And they're going to be a mixture, I think, of ultramarine blue, Payne's gray, and white. Sounds awesome, huh? Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. Now, in a palette, you have these different little wells, so to speak, little indentations, and sometimes it's useful to mix the paints, you know, in their respective wells, so to speak, so you can come back to them and use that pigment again. In this case, I'm going to see what I can do with just putting in some fairly dark, almost violet. It's grayish violet. And I've just made some sketches of this before, and I just have some areas that I'm working on here. I want to particularly get a little bit darker areas right now. It's a challenging mountain to paint because it has so much variety in how all the lights and the darks and the edges and the cliffs work, but I'm starting to like challenges in my art. I like these challenges. So here's a bunch of that same color, that same tint. And I'm referring to a photo that I took over as a reference here. For the most part, it'll evolve to be a little different, I am sure. I also got some of that dark coming down here. Just starting to get the mountains roughed in. I'm going to stick with that same shade here. Trying not to get too detailed at the moment. I'm just blocking in these blocks of dark right now, darker gray. Sometimes you just let the brush do the work. There's all kinds of little detail, and sometimes the brush just discovers it and finds out for itself. In golf, there's this saying, let the club do the work. Sometimes in painting, I think you got to just let the brush do the work. All right, lots of good input from the audience today. Thank you for the compliments and input. I appreciate it. I'm kind of liking the composition too. Simple. Sometimes simple is good. Same thing. Still just working on my dark areas of the mountains in the background here. Now, an interesting thing starts to occur though in this painting, in the mountain, and I'm starting to see it. And that is, barely visible to the naked eye, is where the trees start coming up and growing up into that really rocky part of the mountain, but they kind of blend in very much with the rest of the mountain. So it'll be interesting. I'll have to keep an eye on that and see if I can make that visual effect work. In fact, there's some trees that are growing really high elevation over here and right down this ridge. So here pretty soon you're going to see that. And for that matter, right here on top of the mountains, there's some trees. This is going to be fun. I'm going to work a bunch of brushes today. I already got 5 or 6 going, if you can believe that. Haha. That's cool. So many brushes. But I got a lot. No shortage of brushes. So what I want to do is do the same thing, but starting out a little bit of the dark detail here, and a lot of times I'll hold my hand off the canvas with my pinky finger to kind of stabilize the brush a little bit, just like that. Sometimes though you stick it right in wet paint, and that's not good. I'll just have to see what I can do with that. And again, I'm just adding some little dark touches to the areas that I've been already working on with that gray blue. And the palette I'm working with right now, I switched. The sky's phthalo blue, white, and gray. The mountains are simply ultramarine blue, white, and gray. And ultramarine has, I like it a lot for shadowy parts of a painting. Has a little bit of violet tint almost to it, the ultramarine does. And I like to share palettes. I was researching some palettes of other artists just the other day because I was trying to come up with some things for flesh tones, painting human figures, and I did find some really good reference material, and I started to get captures of it. I'll just show you some quick examples. I just started this the other day, where little swatches of color, and you make notes of what colors they are, what pigments, so that later you can refer to them and then end up with kind of a library of these. I've talked about this before, but it actually is one of the, I think, important things for the semi-dedicated artist, something where you're trying to really learn and stuff. So here's some of the studies that I've done in just pure color pigment mixing. Burnt umber and white, Hooker's green and white, Hooker's green and white, and burnt umber, and things like that. And then you could just basically use that little library to, you don't have to reinvent it every time. So I'm gonna be painting, in fact, I'll do a couple right now while I'm thinking about it. Let's go ahead and do some of that. Let's do a little swatch exercise here. So right now I'm working in this color very simply of ultramarine blue, white, and gray. So I'm gonna just put a few little swatches, and I'll label them later. I already know what they are. But there's a good one. And then simply make a couple of shades of that, which is what I've done over here. And then my little library continues to grow. Mostly for myself. Maybe someday somebody will make use of it. I'm glad to share any of this stuff, studies and whatnot. There we go. So you can see here, all that I'm doing there is just adding some swatches of the same exact color mixture, just different shades of it. Okay, and then I'll go get to another brush. I might set a record for the number of brushes used in a single episode here today. But one of the challenges in painting is getting your colors to be too muddy. They kind of just get all blended. And part of the culprit of that is you use the same brush over and over and you just jump into the other color. Well, why do that? Just get more brushes. Simple thing. They're not expensive at all. But anyway, I'm going to take another one just to add. Some of these areas are a little more detailed than others. So I'm going to go over here, for example, and start getting some of the same stuff going on. That is the same colors and idea here. This painting, some pretty simple composition, but again I stuck to a stock canvas size. And in fact, let me just tell you what the canvas size. It was 16 by 20, 16 by 20, 16 inches wide or 16 units wide, 20 inches or 20 units tall. And it's not a bad, it's not a bad canvas size. It's just that I've become fond of a few others that I've been working with. Of course, the golden rectangle, the whirling squares rectangle we studied. One of my favorites, can't go wrong with that. And then the 2.236 rectangle, y'all remember that one? That's what we did the Last Supper in. I just talk a little bit about that proportion again while we're talking proportions and canvas size. This one was an interesting proportion. I kind of rediscovered it in the original fresco of the Last Supper, but this one is, think of this as 1 unit, and this is 2.236 units. So that's the ratio. And the cool thing about that one is the square in the middle, flanked by 2 golden rectangles. Pretty cool. I'm just still amazed. I seem to have discovered that. Maybe other people know about it. Anyway, let's continue here. Lost track of my palette. There it is. Can't lose your palette. It's not a good thing. Okay. Oh, that one has to be a little bit more. Now, some of these, what are now still white areas, I'm just going to use kind of a technique, if you will, called the brush smash. The brush smash. I just take somewhat of a kind of an old ratty brush and just smash it into the pigment, not too wet, and then you can see how it'll create some effects here. Just giving you a little bit of controlled randomity. Controlled randomity, if that's even a real word. Well, it is now. All right, you can tell your friends you studied controlled randomity on the live painting channel today. I'm sure they will be impressed. Discovering new secrets of art and beauty. All right here on the live painting channel. Yes, sirree. I'm trying not to rush this one. Sometimes I like the flow of a painting going pretty quickly, and that is good. But I also want to just make sure I slow down. I say slow enough to get the imagery that I'm really attempting to get here. And it's not trying to be a photograph, but I just want the certain impression. I'll tell you, this mountain sure leaves an impression on me every time I see it. It's a wonderful mountain, a powerful mountain. Any of you ever walked to the top of it, mountainside? Chat up and let me know, because I'd be interested if you have. It's funny because every time we think, oh, that would be fun to go climb that mountain, walk up to the top, we always go, well, my wife Justine and I, we said we'd probably rather golf today. Keep doing that. Maybe we'll get up there. We've climbed some mountains, just not this one. I find mountains all have a personality. They're just, every mountain is unique. There's no two exactly alike. Kind of like people, huh? No two that are exactly alike. Now, many of you know from watching the live painting channel before that we can finish a painting in one session. I'm predicting this one will go for a couple sessions. It'll be fun, but if you're painting along, maybe you too can see your painting. Go at whatever clip you want, but it's okay. Sometimes they take a little while. So now I'm going to go into, in a moment, I'm going to go into the lighter gray, but I just saw an area I wanted to kind of make it a little bit more like I want it to be here, right up in here. That's right. Now I'm going to go in and put some of the lighter, same shades and everything for the most part, just a little lighter. Back to a fairly similar, well, exactly the same color mixture. Again, ultramarine blue, and ultramarine white, and ultramarine blue, white, and Payne's gray. Easy for me to say. Now I'm going to start blocking in some of that lighter shades of that mixture there. It's amazing how different they end up looking when you're actually getting it on the canvas versus on the palette. So sometimes you have to do a little test here and there, but I'm ready to roll. What's interesting so far for these mountains, I've only used a very tiny part of my palette. One real color, blue, ultramarine blue, and then some gray and white. You'll see me, there's going to be a few other little nuances of color in here. But I wanted to get the real basic composition and light and dark in as simple a form that I can that still conveys the impression of the painting that I want. I think this would be a fun one to paint. How Monet did the haystacks. He did every season he would do a different painting of the same exact haystacks. Pretty cool. You should check it out if you haven't seen that. In fact, in the Art Institute of Chicago, you'll see those paintings. Many of them anyway. One of my favorite art museums anywhere, by the way, Chicago. Well, one of my favorite cities anywhere, Chicago. Right up there with Seattle, I gotta tell you, in terms of culture and beauty and people. All right. Now this part I'm intentionally just kind of putting a bit of background gray in, and you'll see why in just a moment. Hold on to your seats. What's going to happen next? Something pretty cool, I think. Something pretty cool going to start happening here, and that is I'm going to introduce some greens. Ever so subtle, but down here, remember that mountain's quite a ways away, probably over 2 miles maybe, a mile or two, and so the trees will be really small, but they create a green effect. So I'm going to see if I can create that just right now. Let's see here. Got to mix a little bit of new palette here. Which means a new brush or two. I'm going to go into my green palette. So didn't do any swatches of this earlier, so it's going to have to just see how it goes. But I do have Hooker's green over here. Put a little bit of that in a little well. Yeah. I have this phthalo green because I think I might just be using that maybe for the darker part. A little well of that. I'm going to go ahead and steal a little white from that one. A little gray from that one. Okay, that's a nice little well of light green, but I need a similar thing for dark green. It's okay to borrow from your other parts of the palette, by the way. Just don't turn everything into mud. That's my advice. Don't turn it all into mud. Ooh, I think I'm getting there. Alright, so now I've got some of my palette established here. You probably can't see it too well, but here's the color schemes right there. This here is my Hooker's green with some white. Here's my phthalo green with some white and Payne's gray. That is what I'm going to go with to start stippling in some of the greens down here. And it's too dark right now, so I can fix that. Put a little white in there as I go. I'm thinking for this green, yeah, I like to see that's a touch of green there. I'm thinking for this green, as it's way back on the mountain, that it's going to be blended into almost blue and green, because farther things get away from you and there's shadows and such, you'll find that blue starts to creep in. I'm going to use yet another brush. Yeah, let's keep doing that. In this case, a very lightly dampened old scraggly fan brush because I want it to have an effect of vegetation kind of. Let's see what this does here. Oh, I can tell that's too dark. Let's just go like this. Little brush strokes about the size of those trees on that mountain. How about that? Ooh, rather cool. Little discoveries as I go on how to make the brush work for me. Actually, a fair amount of that tree action right up in here. And if it seems like it's kind of a quiet painting show today, it is. I'm a little bit in that mood, contemplative a little bit. And yeah. Let me see. I'm just gonna zoom on this one. Let me try my digital zoom and see what it looks like on that. And let me just zoom in a tad here. And you can see my reference on the right as I zoom in. Okay, this is actually a pretty good view of it right here. I think I'll just leave it there for a moment. And I'm going to continue with that same strategy. But I'm going to add a little bit of lighter green stippling. Greenish grayish blue. This is to represent the little tree lines that go up the mountain here. Those trees are pretty hardy up there. So I think it's about 3,000 feet. I have to look that up. There's definitely still some trees growing almost, well, probably right to the very top. In fact, a little bit of that has to, oh yeah, there's definitely trees up there. I can see them. Right along in here too. Nice little bunch of trees up there. Okay, good. I'm greened up. We're all greened up. That's about all I want right there. Now, I mentioned that there were, in addition to the 98% of the palette for the mountains, dark gray with a tinge of ultramarine blue, and then the rest of it has a little bit of stippling of green to represent the trees. But there's also some tannish browns going on. Good thing I have several buckets of water, jars of water, because I'm going to need them, I'm sure. Here we go. Got to do a little bit of new color alert. We're going to go in and do a little bit of tan dirt color. I happen to have the perfect dirt color right here. It's my old burnt umber and white. Okay, oh, that was nice the way I did that. Sweet. I literally sometimes just dab onto the actual printout of the reference material to see how it looks. I think I got it. Okay, done with that brush. Now I'm going to get a little detail brush. Little guy. That's a very little guy. That'll work. And I see over right along down that way. Perhaps a mudslide. This could very well be a mudslide. Mudslide that hit over there. And it's kind of dripping down the mountain like a fountain of chocolate or something over here. Huh? And there's a little bit of it coming from here too. I'm just adding really little tiny bits of tan here and there. Not much. In fact, that's about it on the tan. Not much, huh? Pretty cool. All right. We're going to let those mountains be for a little bit here. And we're going to go crazy in the next few minutes. And let's just start. Let's do these trees. Okay. So I got my greens. I'm going to start with a big brush, kind of dryish. I'm going to go block in some dark green. I just took a deep breath because here we go. Big plunge here, the big plunge. This is fun. Oh, if you've never done this, just attack the canvas with your brush, and you just sort of let the brush do the work in a lot of cases. I'm leaving some very light areas, as you'll see why here in a moment. But this is fun when you paint like this, let me tell you. This is what I really like. Down in here starts to become a very dark green area. Mostly dark gray. I really want that whole corner to be very dark. I think it'll help pop the whole thing. Pop it out. Big deciduous trees on this side, actually both sides. This I believe is a alder, and then on the other side we have some cottonwoods, which we will be doing momentarily, or at least soon. Yeah, this has been fun. Working on a new painting. Just getting ready to wrap up this session in just a few minutes. Alright, just as I paint, I'll take a few minutes to wish everyone again a happy Father's Day 2019. All you fathers and people that have fathers or had fathers, wonderful day. Hopefully you're getting ready to do something fun, or maybe you're already doing it. I think we're going to have a little barbecue. Anyone on the live painting channel is welcome to come over to our place for Father's Day barbecue. Really, if you're on this channel, you deserve it. Alright, these are a little different in that they're more verticalized. We're going to get into more of this probably next episode here and finish her up. But this has sure been a lot of fun. Not complete yet, but this has been the 22nd episode of the Live Painting Channel. My name is Warren Stokes, your host, and I am delighted to keep sharing with you. And we're going to continue this one next Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Tune in. Hope to see you then. Bye now.